The Monster Hunter series producer Ryozo has a kind of podcast called Ryozo's Room. And they had a podcast today where they had the producer of Monster Hunter Cross on, and they were just kind of talking about the game. So I wanted to share with you the news and also sort of their thoughts and insights into the game design. So while there weren't any really big news reveals, it was kind of a real treat to hear them talking about the game, and there were some things that they confirmed which was really nice. I'll change the order in which they talked about stuff in order to put it together a little bit more cohesively for you. Now, since this video on YouTube is going to be more like a podcast, and I'm pretty much going to be talking about what they were talking about, but in English, you can just sort of tune out and just listen if you want, or if you'd like, I'm just going to put up some random images from Monster Hunter Cross on the screen. Tsujimoto-san started talking about how the Monster Hunter series just has been going for 10 years now, and in that time, they found a lot of people like to play in a lot of different ways. Some hunters like to go full-on aggressive, some like to stand back and be more of a defensive guarding approach, and some people like to use items a lot, and so on. So when they started out the concept of this game, they really felt that what they wanted to do was to make a system that would promote and expand on playstyles. One of the big parts in realizing this was the kariwaza, which literally translates to hunting skills. So this is sort of like the special finishers that you saw in the trailer. I call them super skills. They didn't want to call them special attacks though, because they're not necessarily all attacks. They made a point that some of them are actually more like support skills, some might even be buff skills, so they went with a much more broader term called hunting skills. One of the cool things that they mentioned was they said that, hey, you know that level 3 charge from the greatsword? Well, there are super skills that are even more powerful than that. So, I mean, we kind of expected that, but to hear them say it was pretty cool. They didn't provide an actual number, but they reiterated over and over again throughout the podcast that there's more than just one skill for each weapon, and there'd be numerous ones. And that it was the mixing and matching of weapons, super skills, and hunting styles that really provide an insane amount of combinations. They even said that it would be really interesting because they expect that there's going to be so much that it's going to give rise to some unlikely and some neat combinations that even the development team has yet to discover. And because the super skills are so powerful, the style and approach that you take really does change. So, styles like all-out offense, defensive and guard, hit and away. If you like these things, you're going to be able to find a way to play all the different weapons in this style. So there are 4 styles in the game, and one of them, which I call Legacy, is the same style of hunting that you have in the current games, plus a little extra mechanic that they've added, which they haven't revealed yet. This will allow people who like to stick with their bread and butter to continue to do what they love, and as they play the game, they can try out new styles. They said that they'll never ever require you to use a specific style in the game. It's literally just there for choice and variation. One style that they were talking about was that aerial style, which we saw in the trailer. They said, well, you can use the monster as a jumping board to hop one more step higher into the air, allowing you to attack its head, its back, or other parts of the monster that you normally can't reach with your weapon. Now I find this interesting because a lot of you pointed it out that in the trailer, both the I think it's the light bow gun and the greatsword, they did kind of this small hop, and when they touched the monster, they then sort of used it as a springboard to jump up in the air. So you guys, it's been confirmed. They said use the monster as a jumping board, so that's how that mechanic is going to work. Some of the examples they gave was a greatsword user who really likes the way that they play, but they find that they could never hit the back of a monster. And this is a fun one, but they said, okay, like a dual blade user versus a really big, tall monster, you normally can never reach the head, but what if you wanted to? They said that with the new styles, you're probably going to be able to find a way to do so. Since there are a bunch of skills for each weapon, and the combinations of both the skill and weapon and the style, they can really lead to some interesting ways to play. For example, you can go like all-out super attack focused, a more balanced build, or even a tough guard defensive playstyle, and so on. So where in the past games you wanted to change your approach, you had to sort of change your weapon, now you'll just be able to adjust your style and stick with your current weapon. They said they did add enough variation, so if you had a team of 4 hammer users, each player could actually split up and take on different roles depending on the different styles and customizations that they've put for their hunter. Ryozo mentioned that he would like to do a complete attack focus setup, and they also said that the director of Monster Hunter Cross has been sort of cycling through and playing all of them, and his favorite style has been changing all the time as he discovers new combinations with the super skills. It was made pretty clear that you can select your style before you head out onto a hunt, so it's not permanent or anything. Like Ryozo was saying that you might say to someone in a room like, hey, what style are you going to be using? Oh, okay, I'll use this one then. And it could also be fun if everybody in a team all went with the same style as well. I could see this going on for like speed hunting runs and also group speed runs. They did say that, being able to play the game would make this even easier to understand so that they are planning some nice hands-on events and you can bet that I'm going to be there to let you guys know how it is. They tried very hard during the podcast to make it clear that it's not going to be an overwhelming thing. It's going to be, there's a lot of fun things to choose from and it's just an idea that you can experiment and have fun. They said, players can just start out with the same style they've been using up through now, and then once they try out one or two of the super skills for that weapon, it'll open their eyes and they'll say like, oh, I didn't know I can do that. Now I can reach body part that I couldn't hit before. Or something that will get them to try out a new style. And from there, it's going to just lead to more experimenting and having more fun. They also talked again about what the cross means in the title. For example, the big one that they gave was, of course, there's 4 main monsters. And it's funny, they compared them to the 4 heavenly kings in Buddhism. So those of you who know what that is, that's what they compared it to. It's a little bit of speculation on my part, but it makes it sound like each one of those are going to be the final boss for each one of the villages. Because they did mention how there's going to be 4 villages as all, 3 of which are from past games. And there's also 4 hunting styles to choose from. So you can see this theme of 4, this cross, is really big in this game. And they said that it's really the mixing and the matching of all of these elements that really give the meaning of cross. They also mentioned that this being the 11th year of the franchise, they wanted to make this almost like, they said a festival almost, where people just have a real blast playing it. So they wanted to go a little over the top with the effects. So they put a lot of energy into making the moves and the action really exhilarating and visually stunning. Now, of course, Monster Hunter Cross is not a number titled, which they even mentioned. It's not numbered. And this is kind of interesting, but they compared it to Super Street Fighter Alpha Series, and they said it's kind of like that. But the producer assured us, they said that they're very confident it's going to hold its own up to the number games, and it's going to be something really special. The producer also made it like really clear in the podcast that this game is definitely coming out this winter, and there's no way, heaven or hell, that he's going to let this thing be delayed. He's like, it is coming out this winter, get hyped. And that's exactly what I am. I'm expecting some more Monster Hunter news maybe in 2 weeks after E3 is next week, so I don't imagine they're going to do something next week, but you never know. But I hope you guys enjoyed hearing a little bit about what they were talking about on the podcast, and happy hunting.